gardening. I know it's been a while. Let me know if you can hear me, because I've been having a few issues with, it's been that while since I've done a live that the software updated, and I don't know whether or not everything is working. I got bars saying it's moving, so if you can hear me, let me know in the chat, that'd be great. Excellent, thanks Sandra, thanks JB, appreciate that. So, I tell you something guys, I've had 6 weeks from hell. It's been an absolute nightmare for me. I've been doing 70 and 80-hour weeks, coming home, watering the garden, coming into the house, going to bed, getting up and doing it all over again. It's been an absolute nightmare. And it's the reason you've had absolutely no videos from me. And it's like literally non-stop from the time you go in till the time you come home. You know, we're doing, 17-hour night shifts, 18-hour night shifts, and you're not getting a break at all. It was absolutely horrible. It's still going out there, but the fortunate thing for me is that this morning I started my annual leave, which means I get just under 3 weeks break, and that means that I'm able to get back to the garden and sort my garden out, and I'm able to start making content again, and hopefully, touch wood, hopefully the fires will be done by the time I go back from annual leave. I've got a video clip of just some of the stuff that we've been dealing with here, and I'll talk over that. If you guys want to see it, let me know in the chat. If you don't, I won't bother play it. But if you do want to see what we've been sort of dealing with and stuff, I'm happy to put that clip on for you guys. So, guys, what's the weather like with you? I know a few of you have already been putting that in the chat. How are your gardens doing based around the heat and the wet? I know I was speaking to Scott the other day, and he was telling me that his garden is still really cold. I'm thinking, Jesus, it's so hot here at the moment. So let me know in the chat what it's like for you, the weather-wise at the moment. But if you want to see this, let me know in the chat as well, and I'd be happy to put that little clip on. But today, really, it was just a case of it's literally my first day off. I've spent the day just trying to get all of this stuff working again, because it's been a couple of months since I've been on here with the lives, and I wanted to be able to just sort of like put a feeler out to say, look, I'm still alive, and I will be getting back to making my content and stuff. JB, while I see you in the chat, mate, I'm really sorry about your spud harvest today. It's a shame, but again, that's probably down to all this dry weather we're having. It's like you said, in the one row it was really dry, and it can cause all sorts of problems if they're not getting the moisture they need. So Hootmaroot, it's not more fires. We had wildfires or mountain fires here. So my station is a place called Tonapandi. It's surrounded by mountains. It's but so our station is a wildfire specialist station. So we travel the whole of Wales and sometimes out to other parts of the UK, like when Manchester had their fires a few years ago and what have you. We travelled up there and we dealt with those as well. So we are wildfire specialists, and we'll sometimes beat fire with fire rather than just water. But I tell you what I'm going to do, guys. I'm going to put this I'm going to put on this little clip for you, and you can see roughly what we've been dealing with. Like I said, it's only about a couple of minutes long, but it'll just give you some sort of idea, and I'll talk over some of them as well. Now, I can't hear if you're hearing the noise for this or not. Hopefully you are. So here, this mountain is a place called the Ricos Mountain, and this is like a gorge within the mountain. It's burnt all the way from the one side to the other. As you can see, we've got helicopters helping us fight this. So this helicopter's coming in with a bucket, and he is picking up some water. So all that mountain behind him is either burnt or is still on fire. the top of the mountain where it flattens out, that is going for about 2.5 miles. It's absolutely crazy. We had something like 58 fire engines and other appliances there, as well as the helicopters, the burn teams and everything else. And we were dealing, you'll see it in a moment, we were dealing with the other flank of this to prevent it going down into another valley. And we pretty much got on top of it. But the only reason we got on top of it here, as you can see, walking up here now, this is the banking we're currently fighting on. In a moment I'll turn around, you'll see what we're dealing with. But it's been an absolute nightmare. Now this fire, believe it or not, is still burning. And that's like after 3 weeks, and I think it's currently at something like 450 hectares of mountain that's burnt. So it's a massive old space, but you can see just how much smoke is coming off this. And this is only a little bit on the side of the mountain here. On top of this mountain is going like you won't believe, but we were trying to get control of it from going down. There's a zip line that goes through this, and we were trying to stop the fire getting around to that. And these mountains, guys, they are like this. You know, you're knackered before you even get there. Then so I went off on duty on that one, and as soon as I come back in on duty, it went straight to a different mountain, and this is going, now this fire ended up being something like 125 hectares, and this was a path that we were just walking along to try and get to the main fire, but as you can see, we just couldn't get there. And the thing is, you know, this mountain didn't have a lake like the last one did, so there was no helicopter for this one. So all you had was crews with beaters, hose, leaf blowers, things like that, in order to put this out. The only way to beat this would have been with fire. So what we would do at that point is we would create fire breaks and allow the fire to burn out at that point. But you can see that everything behind this is just gone. All the trees and everything. Natural resource Wales were on site, but this is their land. But it was like miles and miles and miles of trees just gone. But you can just see just how intense this is. And you know, we're already in this heat. And I love the name UK Year We Grow. How fitting. Yeah, so you can just see, you know, we're at these shouts, you know, 18, 19 hours at a time, and it was absolutely chaos, and it's been like that every single shift for the last 6 weeks. So you can understand now why you haven't had any videos from me. I've been coming home, literally watering the polytunnel or what I can water, getting my ass into bed, and that's pretty much it. I won't count in on that this year, but it is what it is. Hopefully it'll all be done by the time I get back, you know, and I'll be able to just continue on with the gardening and stuff. Some exciting news. The publishers for the third book have contacted me, and they've told me they've made it live on Amazon for pre-order. So that's the book that's I haven't got anything set up for that yet, guys. All right, it wasn't something I was planning on publishing, you know, or promoting yet, but it is on Amazon. This time it's gone through a publisher, whereas my previous two books have been self-published because I wanted to be able to make a course for them eventually. And if you take a book through a publisher, they own the rights to the book. So because of that, you know, I wouldn't be able to make a course because they would take all of any financial gain I would have out of it. So the third book, I'm not interested in making a course on this subject, so I'm able to put that through a publisher. So this one's going through a publisher. They've made it live for pre-order on Amazon already. It's called Gardening with a Side of Science, and if you search for it under Tony O'Neill, or it might be under Simplify Gardening or something like that, just put that into Amazon and you will find it. it's only there. It's not going to be launched until I think it's the 6th of February, so next year. So it's up there. It's got a pre-orders for quite some time. All right, but just to let you know, it is there. And also, before all the wildfires kicked off, I started a complete rebuild of my website because what I'm finding is a lot of people now using AI to do a lot of writing, and it is producing some awful stuff. One thing I've always said that my website will be is authentic handwritten things, so that you know that the information in there you can rely on. So all the posts is going to stay the same, but the sort of packaging around it is being redesigned, and that should be out in the next couple of months. But for now, the old site is still running. But what it will do is help people navigate around the website a little bit easier and find, when you've got 900 odd articles on a website, in over 2.5 million words, sometimes, especially on the old site, the search bar feature wasn't working right. So I wanted a way that people could break things down into categories, and then they can search within the category if they wanted. So that's all happening at the moment. I had to put it on hold for the last 6 weeks, but the bulk of it's all set up. I just need to finish that off. So in hopefully a couple of months that will be done as well. So the garden. So the next video, guys, is going to be a tomato pruning video. I wrote the script for it like 6 weeks ago or anything, ready to make the video back then. Never got around to filming it, and now I have the perfect opportunity because my tomatoes have grown like triffids and they're all over the shop. So it's going to take some work to get them back into some sort of viable state, if you like. And I think the video will be, or being able to show, coming from a real bad state back into, under control will be a good way of doing it. So that's what the next video will be, and I'll probably be next Friday now, not this week. But like I said, I just wanted to get on today. I wanted to catch up with everybody because I've literally not been online. I've not been doing anything. I did pop on last night and just say hello to a few people on a few chats, but that was it. Like I said, I've been absolutely knackered, to be honest with you. So let's have a look through the chat, see what's been going on. Listen, guys, you haven't got to feel sorry for the troubles. Verinda, I thank you for that and everything else, but at the end of the day, it's part of the job and we just have to get on with it. Unfortunately, it does tend to put a downer on everything else that I'm doing around simplified gardening and what have you. But, it is what it is, isn't it, So JB's asking, is the priority stopping it reaching houses and settlements and stuff? Yeah, so when we have three maxims in the fire service, and the first one is life, then property, and then environment, okay? So when we're dealing with things, we look at what life risk is around that. So is that fire heading towards a farm or some barns or something like that? Then we will put our fire tackle in front of that fire there, and we'll create a fire break so that we can prevent it getting to that area in the first place. The weather has been that bad and that dry that fires have been jumping breaks, and we've been creating like 30-meter fire breaks, and fires have been jumping it. So it's it can be quite difficult, especially if you've got trees and things there. Now, Natural Resources Wales, they plant millions and millions of trees on these mountains, and they don't think of fire breaks. So we spend like hours and hours going through there with chainsaws, cutting down trees, removing them out of the scene. We'll maybe get like bulldozers up there to try and basically scrape it back to bare earth and create a 30-meter break. and then hopefully it doesn't jump that. Now what we will usually do is wait at that break for the fire to come to it, and we will try and manage the fire at that point using things like hose and beaters, leaf blowers. We use what's known as a fogging lance on a Polaris, which is an 8-wheeler vehicle and what have you. So we've got some tools that we can use, but it's all about creating those breaks when it comes to these wildfires. So Dan's off, he's got to go and water the garden. So look, Cheryl's saying she's had one day of rain, which was light but rainy. Yeah, unfortunately though, what we get is that the ground gets so dry that you get that little bit of rain and it just runs off, and that's going to be the next problem we have here now in Wales. When we do have a deluge of rain, we're going to end up with flooding, and so we'll we'll move from tackling wildfires to tackling floodings instead. So you'll be just as busy until that sort of ground starts absorbing that rain again, because what happens is typically it'll just run off the surface, it becomes hydroscopic, and and that's the way it is. Let's have a little look here. Tony C. Smith probably started it. Yeah, Jeff, I know. I've told Tony a few times, behave yourself. Let's have a look what else we got. UK Year We Grow, you have a question. What's that question? It's nice to see someone's picked up my old name. Let's have a look what else we got here. Garden of Eden, does life risk include animals? Yes, it does. It mainly includes things like farm animals and pets and things like that. But if we know there is like a badger set, or there's some sort of bird of prey or something in trees that have chicks and things like that, we'll do our best at that point in which to try and protect those. It's very difficult sometimes, because when fire gets into things like gorse or trees, it crowns out at the top and you can't get to it. So sometimes the fire can be running at 30 or 40 feet above your heads, and it could go miles like that. So, but we'll do our best, if we know there's an issue there, Scott Harris is in West Wales fishing. God, I wish I was fishing now, Scott. My cucumbers are not pollinating. Put lavender there, but it seems there's no bees. Simone, if they're not pollinating, hand pollinate them. Just get a little brush or pull off the male flowers, strip back all of the petals on the flower and use a stamen and put that into the female flower and hand pollinate them. But I think you'll probably find that it will happen. It's just been so hot, and especially in these tunnels, that it's in 40 and 50 degrees in days like this. So if you can get aeration into there somehow, or even put water down on any paths you have, that will help raise the humidity and bring the temperature down. Hey Chris, thanks for joining us. I appreciate that. Let's have a look. So Michael Lindsay's asked, do you use the shade to make a trench to stop the fires? So we work on what's known as anchor points. So we will look for something that we can do what's known as a control burn off. So if there's a small path, a piece of land that has low grass or something like that, something that has low fuel, then we will put a burn in there, something we can control. And what we will do is we'll burn maybe 2 or 3 meters, allow that to go in a couple of meters, and then we'll put that out. We'll do the length of that, and then we will come in a little bit more and we'll widen the burn. And this creates like a black seam down the landscape, and then the fire can burn to that. And what it can't do at that point, obviously if something's black, it can't burn again, and that's how we do it. We will look for natural things like a gorge. Now on that video you saw, you you saw us up on that mountain there. Now, just around the side of that mountain, there's a lot of what's known as white grass, and it's like this big tufty sort of grass and what have you. If it had got into that, then it would have run for miles and miles and miles, and there'd have been no stopping it. So we managed to stop it going in there. But on the top, as you went over the top of that mountain there, it was running all across that. But that fire was something like, I want to say something like 15 square miles or something. It was huge, and it's still going. So okay, let's have a look. Why have I muted Rob? I haven't muted Rob, so I don't know what that's about. I've not muted anybody, so I don't know why Rob's thinks he's been muted, but tell him to contact me and I'll have a look. But I haven't muted anybody. Okay, let's have a look here. So Mel Veg Flowers is saying that they think it's you too because it seems he can't get on a lot of lives. I don't know what that is. It's nothing to do with me, guys. Like I said, I've literally come on today, set this up, and to be honest with you, I've had to renew everything as far as updates and what have you. My microphone wasn't working, my cameras weren't working. I was like, oh my God. So I didn't even know, like, I'm not getting any feedback off the screen at all. I'm not hearing anything in my earphones. I don't even know if you guys could hear me. That's why I said I've had to ask you if you're hearing what I'm saying. So, Gardner Whedon, you firefighters have such big hearts. Don't know a single one that doesn't. Listen, it's like any group of people, I suppose. You know, you get into gardening, yeah. I mean, on as a rule, gardeners are a fantastic group of people. They'll help anybody out. They'll give them plants. They'll help them with, setting up polytunnels and everything else. So you find those groups of people, and I think when there are a group of people all around one thing, then you do, you do find people like that. I mean, but it's typically in that person. If that person wants to help people, they will help people no matter what they're doing. So whether it's firefighting, like, excuse me, it's hot in here. It's 25.3 degrees with 87% humidity. So, and the 87% humidity, guys, is because of that lockdown there. So I'm I, I've been planting on some stuff today, and all those moss poles have got plenty of heat and stuff in them. So it's very humid in here, so I'm sweating a little bit. Um, yeah, look, it's the same as anything else. You've either got people that are prepared to help others, or you haven't, and um, I just rather help people rather than not. Okay, so Ruth's saying her son's waiting Fire Academy in Boston. Oh, within the next 6 months, that'd be fantastic. Ruth, you'll enjoy that. So I am a watch manager, so I'm in charge of the fire appliance, and when we're at instance like that, I was in charge of that entire incident there. So I think your nearest sort of ranking is a chief who would be in charge of a station there. So I'm not sure, but yeah, it's a brilliant job, and you get to bring on some new people and train them, and the next generation, if you like, because someone's got to replace us as we get too old. And I can tell you, I'm feeling it. I mean, this job is a hard job. I've already had double knee operation and a back operation from this job. So, just, but it's worth it. Uh, Thanks, JB, for the slick transitions. JB, that's because of the Stream Deck, mate. It makes life so much easier. No, I'm not retained, Gordo. I'm whole time, so I work out of station. Typically, I work 2 9-hour days and 2 15-hour nights. Unfortunately, at the moment with these times that are happening, we've all been putting in major overtime, and you know, our sort of 9 hour days have been turning into 16 and 17 hours, and our nights have been turning into like 18, 19, 20 hours. You know, it's unfortunately the problem you have a 15-hour night shift. You know, on the mountains somewhere that's like maybe an hour and a half away from the station. Then you've got an hour's walk to where you are on the mountain, so it's 2.5 hours. Well, there's 2.5 hours then when reliefs come in, say for argument's sake, they come in at 9 o'clock in the morning, they've got to travel there to get to where you are, so that's 2.5 hours. So they're not getting to you till 11:30, and then you've got that 2.5 hours to get back to the station. So it's like an extra 5 hours on a 15-hour night shift. It's you know, it can be quite draining. Let's have a look. Michael, are you going to the big veg show this year, mate? Yes, Michael, I'll be going. I did actually have a day off and went to Gardener's World. I took my mum there as a, you know, as a present for her. I didn't do any filming or anything, but I did have one day off, and I had somebody else work for me, so I was able to take my mum there. And you know, it was just nice to get out, not have to worry about doing any filming or anything like that. I got to say, I was pretty disappointed with Gardener's World this year, but I will be going back to Malvin's autumn show. Yeah, sure. Let's have a look what else is going on here. Yes, Ruth. You find a lot of Marines and Army, Air Force, things like that end up in the fire service because they've obviously had a lot of training there, and it's just, I suppose it's the next step when you retire from military service to go into another service. You know, so and fire is one of the ones that they all tend to want to get into. I don't know if it's because, you know, of the action that's you know, I suppose is in there. You know, there's still a little bit of danger involved around it and stuff. You know. Right, okay, let's have a look here. Guys, keep garden ground damp, you won't get. So, Cheryl, yeah, I agree. If you can keep it damp, unfortunately, give you some sort of idea, I've gone through 18,000 litres of water in the last few weeks alone, just trying to keep my garden wet. I've got 18 IBC containers and they're all pretty much empty. You know, and on top of that, I've mulched a lot of my garden with grass clippings. So, you know, that's also stopping evaporation and keeping the soil cooler. So it, you know, but yet I'm still going through the water. So it's something that, you know, I think it doesn't help. It's just so dry there that that water just doesn't take. And who was just saying about the dehumidifier? I'm sure I just saw that. Bear with me 1 second, guys. I'm sure I just saw someone say something about a dehumidifier. Right. Oh, yes, it was Cheryl. You need a dehumidifier. Cheryl, I got a dehumidifier in the house, but these plants that are here are all these are all tropical plants, and there's a huge amount of money's worth of plants in here, and they all like high humidity between 60 and 80%. So this room is always humid anyway, and in fact I have a humidifier in here for when the humidity drops, like in the winter, but in the summer it doesn't drop because I'm watering these poles all the time. I don't know if I can take you around to show you. Excuse me, chucking you around. I don't know what you're going to see here now, guys, right? But you can see there's huge amounts of plants across here. Those over there are going to be for a terrarium I want to build, but you can see there's just plants absolutely everywhere. So, and they like the humidity, and you can see when you have, like this is a Wentii and Alocasia Wentii, and it's just throwing out a new leaf here now, so it needs that humidity, you know. But you know, but I think that's you know, I need that humidity in here. If I was to put a dehumidifier, all of those leaves would turn brown, and I would lose most of the plants that are in here, you know. So that's why there's not one here. And the fan's on to circulate the air so that nothing gets damp. The last thing you want is mold forming, because this is in a garage after all, you know. Okay. Sorry if you couldn't hear me, Chris. I know I walked away from the microphone. But the plant that was unfurling a leaf there, without the humidity, that leaf would crisp up and that would be gone. You'll have to excuse me, I'm having a drink, guys, because I deserve it. So let's get back onto gardening then. That's the whole point of being here in the first place. And so my garden, most of it is doing really well. And the potatoes are doing well. The tomatoes, like I said, they've gone nuts. But because they haven't been pruned, they've bushed right out. So I've got to get them back under control. And but I have a little bit of my garden I haven't even planted up at all, and all of the plants were still in the tunnel and they never made it out, so they've all fried. Onions are doing really well, carrots are doing well. So what we'll do is, you'll see some of this as we go. The rhubarb have had a bit of a beating with the heat, and I've been watering it, but when you've got leaves that are like over a metre wide, they're going to transpire a lot of moisture, and they're starting to droop a bit now, and you know, but I've given them as much as I can give them without causing a rot problem for the hearts. But it is what it is. It's getting on, and I'm happy that they've done the size that they have, and we'll just keep feeding them now, ready for next year. The poultry's doing really well. The pond isn't doing really well. Now, last year with the pond, I thought we had a leak, and it turns out the pond went really dry. And I think what's happened is the liner was one of those cheap liners that's like interwoven material. And I think one of the trees from next door's, you know, that big, huge leander tree, I think one of that roots has gone through it. Well, of course, over winter it filled up and it stayed filled up. But now that we've had all of this hot weather, most of that water's gone again. So that'll be, I'm going to get hold of an IBC. I'm going to pull out all of the wildlife and the plants that are in that pond. They're going to go in that IBC, and I'm going to completely overhaul this pond. We're going to make it bigger. We're going to put a 40-year rubber liner in there as well, so that the roots won't penetrate that. We'll get some sand down and some carpet and stuff under there as well, just to make sure. And hopefully we can make that go again. It's not done bad. It's done 10 years on a really cheap liner, because 10 years ago when we first took over this ground, I didn't have the money in which to buy, you know, expensive liners and what have you. And now the channel and everything else is allowing me to sort of, you know, reinvest a little bit back into the garden, you know, the money I'm earning I can put back into it, just to make things better when you guys see it and what have you. There's also a few videos around that I want to make, so that should be interesting, but I'm going to probably keep that for the winter time. We'll get the IBC in the tunnel, we'll get all the wildlife in that, so they should be fine, and then we'll start sorting out that pond. And for those that haven't seen how it was built, there are videos on it on the channel, but you'll get to understand how we were able to have fish and wildlife in the same pond. A lot of you don't know, before I was a firefighter, I worked for a company called Carphone Warehouse, but then before that I managed a company called Maidenhead Aquatics, that's in Rada, a place which is down by Cardiff, and I actually opened that store on my birthday. So and that was like 30 odd years ago. So but back then I used to go and install ponds in people's gardens and stuff. So, you know, I learned a lot around that, you know. Okay. So Anita's saying she's got 5 tubs of spuds at home, uh, much to the other half's disgust. If I don't get decent ones this year with the amount I'm watering them, I give up. Don't overwater them because that can cause problems as well. Just use your finger and need to push it in that soil. If it comes out moist, they don't need water, okay? But in this sort of heat that we've been having, or I've been having, if you've been having anything similar, then you need to make sure they're getting that moisture. Margaret, do you think we need to garden differently for next year, anticipating hot weather? Absolutely. And look, things are changing, guys. You know, like I said earlier on, I was talking to gardener Scott the other day, and he was saying how cold his garden still is at this time of year. And normally, you know, it's really warm and what have you. Our seasons are changing. You know, kids haven't even had their summer holidays yet from school, and you can pretty much guarantee our summer holidays gone. You know, once this heat goes, I think that'll be it. You know, I think we'll be back into rainy season. But we tend to be getting a lot of heat earlier on, sort of May, June, and July time, and the garden it's at the time where the garden hasn't established itself. The plants haven't had time to throw those roots down, so they're really susceptible to this hot weather. So I think that mulching is going to be a gardener's best friend. Putting in watering systems to make your life easier, all of those sorts of things. It's about having that little bit of more, you know, forethought of, right, what's going to happen here if we get this heat? How can I mitigate that? And can I make my life easier while I do that? I was waiting on a new pump to come for my polytunnel, so I never bothered lay out the soaker hoses and the drip lines this year. I was going to do it after, and typically this happened. I never got around to doing it, so at the moment I'm still hand watering. But what I have done is I've put in a retractable hose now, so I can water with that as well, just to make life a little bit easier. And but I think it's about putting systems in place now and mitigating this heat. So, you know, can we think about growing salad crops? Okay, where's the sun going? Oh, it's going behind that tree. Let's plant the salad here because they're going to be in shade most of the day. That's, you know, it's about thinking about where you're putting things rather than, oh, let's get it out into the sun all the time, you know. Can we create wind shields by using other plants, because that can create a massive thing. You can create shade with things like corn, you know. So think about where you're planting things, and then the mulching behind that as well, and really cut things back. So Amanda's planted out a second load of shallots in a spare bed 2 weeks ago. They're coming up beautifully, so they'll be nice for Christmas spuds, I'm sure. Hey Danny, how are you, mate? Great that you've popped in. I was just saying earlier on, Danny, that I think you had a couple of days of light rain, every, you know, sort of showers over where you are, but we've had absolutely nothing here, and we've been playing a video showing like some of the wildfires that I've been on and why I haven't been around. Cheryl's saying her rhubarb struggled, and I'm moving them back to large pots as the raised bed they aren't working well. So Cheryl, with rhubarb, a lot of people, I've got a really good video on the channel. If you look at it, I think it's called something, grow rhubarb so big that a dinosaur can eat it, or something like that. With rhubarb, it starts in the autumn, believe it or not. You really need to get the water and the feed in. So when they die back now, you want to mulch them first with some chicken manure pellets, something that's really high in nitrogen. And then over the top of that, you want to put a load of manure and mound them up. This will protect them from all of the winter frosts and the deluge of rain, but also the worms will take that down through the winter, and it will hold the moisture in the soil around them. And then in early spring, before they've even started shooting, you want to be ploughing them with water, and you want to soak that ground, because it's the first few weeks of their growth that sets them up for the whole rest of their growing season. So you want to feed them again then in early spring, all right, with more chicken manure. All right, chicken manure, anything that's high in nitrogen. So if you want to use nettle tea or something like that, that's great as well. Anything that's high in nitrogen will do well. So Marv's asking if you can use soaker hose from an IBC. You absolutely can, because that's how I do it. Last year I used all drip lines from an IBC. A soaker hose, you may have to lift the IBC up on a couple of pallets just to get a bit of pressure for the soaker hose, but it will work fine just straight from the tap, because soaker hose doesn't need a lot of pressure in order to work. The Bosch pumps are really good. I've got two of them here. I know Danny has one. They're really good as well, but they're too highly powered. I think they come out of 2 bar. You can't really put that onto soaker hose or anything like that, because it would just blow it apart. It's, so if you're going to use a pump, it needs to be really low powered, just to get water moving. But if you lift an ABC up on a couple of pallets, 2 or 3 pallets, you'll have enough head height that it will create that water movement anyway, and the soaker hose will do its job for you. Chris is off on rhubarb again. For those who don't know, there is a cartoon character called Rhubarb that I designed, and he's in part of a kid's cartoon colouring book that is also designed by me, which is all based around fruit and veg as well. So that's there too. Let's have a look here. Ask twice. Scott Harris, West Wales Fishing. Can you explain white onion rot and the reasons for it? So with white onion rot, it's a fungal infection. It tends to stay in the ground, okay? So if you've got white onion rot in your ground, you can't grow onions there, and it could be there for years, 5, 6, 7 years sometimes. So you either need to grow them somewhere else in the garden, or grow them in containers, okay, or a raised bed or something like that, away from wherever that white onion rot is. Once the fungal spores, and it happens, it's in the soil, and then when people water, they splash up onto the onions, onto the leaves of the onions, and then the fungus starts going through the onion. And there's not a lot you can do about it once it's in your ground, other than not grow onions in that space for a few years, and then maybe just try a small little row of onions or something, a small grouping of onions a few years later, see how they get on. If they still have it, pull them out. As soon as you notice signs of it, take them out, dispose of those onions, don't put them in the compost. Gardener Whedon, I've got a Bosch pump. It's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, they are really good pumps. I've got 2 of them here. I use a lot of bilge pumps as well for moving water around between the IBCs. I've got a lot of underground piping that some of you may have seen. I'm going to do an update on my water catchment and how I've set things up, so that you can see that in a later video. That would have been done by now, but again, you haven't had them. So Amanda's saying that the dew point is really good for her at the moment, water dripping down the leaves to the roots. Yeah, I wish we had a dew point here at the moment. There's just nothing. They have forecast some showers, but every time they forecast showers for us, we don't get them. They seem to bypass us. So, Ruth, I tried to start rhubarb from seed this spring. They didn't germinate. I'm going to plant some more. Ruth, if you've already got rhubarb, you can split those as well, and there's a video on my channel about splitting rhubarb. Yeah, and Garner Whedon saying if you had white onion rot, then build a raised bed on top of the area where where you have that, and then you don't need to worry about white onion rot. Yeah, like I said, it's a fungal thing, and it's typically caused by you splashing those fungal spores up onto the onions. If you build a raised bed on top of it, if you're going to build a raised bed, build a deep one to make sure there's no chance of that happening. So look, Doron, so I understand you work full-time as a firefighter. How do you also manage to nurture your amazing garden and gardening business? um, well, evidently I don't, because you've not had a video in 6 weeks. Look, you know, when you get a passion and you really love doing something, then you find the time. I can't remember the last time I watched any television. So while people are sat watching their favourite shows, I'm in the garden, or I'm down here doing the plants here, or I'm writing articles, or I'm planning the next video, or I'm filming that video, or I make time for the family as well. We go off and do things. It's hard, guys, and it's why I always say that Tina and the kids have been my rocks, because they've understood what I'm trying to accomplish here. They've all been really supportive, because there's been times that I've not been able to go and do the things that they wanted to do because I've promised I was doing something else, and that can be hard. Um, it's taken a long time to sort of get into a rhythm that I go, right, okay, today I'm doing this, this, and this. What I've found is if you batch things, so I will spend hours in the bath now, and there's a video I found online about a year ago of some guy who's actually made a video about simplified gardening. So if you look it up, I'm sure you'll find it. And in there, he tells people that I do most of my writing in the bath. And I'm like, where the hell did he learn that from? But it's true. Um, you know, uh, when the kids were growing up, you know what it's like when you've got two little kids running around. It's hard work to concentrate on what you're doing. So I used to get in the bath relatively early. I'd have, one of those hospital style tables by the side of the bath with a laptop on. I'd be sat in the bath, and that's where I wrote 900 odd articles, and where I wrote all the scripts for the videos, or where I've planned the next videos and things. Because until I had this studio, I didn't have anywhere I could do that. And in the living room, Tina was constantly, "Oh, babe, can you do this? Can you do that?" Or kids were like, "Dad, can we go and do this?" And like, so I was constantly being interrupted, and I just needed that time in which to do that. And by batching things like that, it allowed me then to say, right, okay, fine. I got a couple of days off here. We'll take one of them for the family, and then the next one I'm doing all this, 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 and this. So don't plan anything in. It's anybody who creates content will tell you that it's hard work, and you've got to. There's times that you get up and you don't want to go up to the garden, or you don't want to write, or you don't want to film, especially if you're not feeling well. But you've just got to force yourself to do it, because when you've built, like, I appreciate every single one of you guys. I can't thank you enough every time you show up for one of my videos or anything like that, or watch the back catalogue. And for me, for 12 years now, I've been producing these videos. If you guys are going to turn up, the least I can do is turn up. And this is why the last 6 weeks have been a bit frustrating for me, because I was all set for coming along, but the fires and the life risk and everything else has to take priority over making a video. And I know you guys understand that. So, but now it's nice to come back out. Steve Digwell, hiya mate. I don't know who has the old channel ID. They were asking about Rob, so I'm wondering if it's Rob. I don't know. It's nice that it's being used, I suppose. I let that go now. That's part of the old channel, and Simplify Gardening took over, so I have no issues at all about it. If someone wants to be UK Year We Grow, that's fantastic. Yeah, so it's you know it's just a case of putting it out. And I tell you something, um, I've had burnout quite a lot of times, and excuse the pun because being a firefighter, but I've had creator burnout probably 5 or 6 times over the years. It's really hard to get past that, and when you haven't been making videos like I have now for the last 6 weeks, it can really set you back in actually getting the motivation to go and make that first video again. But once you start making them again, you carry on as normal. So. Uh, so Gordo's this is his first year growing. Um, well, hopefully you'll have fantastic crops and it won't be your last. It's this is something that the channel's always been about, is encouraging people to give it a go and to find the passion that I've had, and then hopefully we'll have more creators making it and things like that. I mean, one thing that probably Danny can attest to here is that I'm all for helping people, whether that's you guys as far as the videos go, or other creators. If they want my help and they ask me for it, I'm happy to give my time to them. I've helped Danny and others in the past, um, you know, and I think you find that's the same for most of the gardening community out there. They're always happy to help people. I think it's a brilliant community that we've got here. Okay, so William and Melanie are making me jealous because they've had loads of rain. A little bit would be nice for me. Um, let's have a look. So JB saying he replies to his comments in the bath. Look, and this is the thing: people don't realize that, they think that, you when you're a creator, everything is taken over. It just, you're absorbed by it. And I'll get up in the morning, it's the first thing I do. Right, okay, what do I need to do, and what have you. And if I'm in the bath, I'm answering things, or and it's very difficult as you get bigger. Like, I mean, we got over 370,000 subscribers here now. We're doing over 1 million views a month, and trying to, I'm probably getting like 100,000 comments a month, and I can't simply answer them all anymore unless I pay somebody to help me answer them. And then by doing that, it's not really me answering them. So I'd rather just deal with people's questions in videos if I can. I try to do as much as I can. But when if I was spending all that time answering like 100,000 comments every month, I'd never have any time to make any content or the garden or anything. But I do try to answer things in the first couple of hours of a video going live. And then, so if people want answers, they know if they do in the first couple of hours of that video being live, they'll get an answer. After that time, then I need to sort of like think, right, okay, fine, I need to get on with the next video now. So Danny says, Tony does help. He also makes me pull his trolley at Malvin. I could have done with you in Gardener's World as well. Well, look, I bought a big trolley for you to pull, and you were able to put your small trolley inside it. So really, technically, you were only pulling one trolley, weren't you? JB, I'd be impressed if you could even read them, let alone reply to them. Yeah, I mean, listen, guys, and every there's creators in here that come back and forth, and there's creators have been on here for years and years and years, and you've seen the increase of your comments as your channels have grown, and it goes crazy. And don't forget, you might have 8,000 subscribers or 10,000 subscribers, but you're getting probably 5 or 6 times the views of that. And those people are leaving comments. So even though they're not subscribers, they're still leaving comments. It's crazy the amount that you get. And sometimes it can be quite overwhelming when you wake up and you've got 15,000 comments or something. You're like, yeah, I don't think I'll be answering those today, Right, so look. So Adam's saying he can't attest what it's like to be a content maker, but having two young girls and a busy job with long hours, it's difficult to find time at the plot. I totally agree with you. Like I said, I've done it all the time. I mean, there's videos on the channel where you saw me take the kids to the plot and they were in prams on the plot while I was doing it. Sometimes, you know, you just have to try and find it. And there's a saying that I've always sort of abided by, and that is, if you want something done, ask a busy person, because they'll always find that time, even though, you know, they got so much on their plate. They'll always go, right, okay, I'll move that to there and I'll do that as well, you know. They'll always find that time. So if you ever want anything done, ask a busy person. They'll figure it out. You know, if someone says they're busy and they've got time to sit down watching TV and things like that, well, they're not really busy. They just sort of taking their relaxing time is more important than them doing anything else, and that's fine. You know, that's everybody has their choice for that. I have a vision for simplified gardening, and in order to achieve that, I have to do lots and lots of work, and like there's people in the chat like Chris and what have you can tell you that, like Chris will tell you, she knows the amount of work that I've put into simplified gardening over the last few years has been absolutely crazy. Um, I fixed my three-wheel trolley now. Uh, so we were in Malvern. I bought this trolley. It was like nearly 100 quid, and within like minutes, the wheel fell off it. So it was like, and all it was is a little circlip that was holding the wheel in, but it was stretched. So I've put a new one on it now, and it went all around Gardener's World with no problems. So yeah, that's cool. So, guys, look, we've been on for nearly an hour. Like I said, I just wanted to have a chat with you, let you know I'm still here. I'm literally got about, I don't know, 18, 19 days off now, so I'm going to be getting up the plot, and I'll be making some content for that as well. And hopefully by the time I go back, those wildfires will be done and dusted, and I'll be able to continue making the videos. I will let you guys know when the new version of the website goes live, but in the meantime you can still get across to the old version. It's still simplifiedgardening.com, where you will find absolutely tons and tons of articles, not on just on vegetable growing, but on house plants and garden plants and trees and all sorts of stuff. Um, the website is more of a overall thing. There's even stuff on bonsai on there, but the YouTube channel is all about vegetables, and something I've been toying with is sort of rounding that out and putting other stuff on, but on additional days and what have you. But I'm still thinking about that at the moment. So guys, look, I really appreciate you all jumping in here tonight. I know it was short notice and everything, and but I just wanted to be able to sort of touch, you know, reach out and say, look, you know, thanks for hanging by, and let you know where I've been, what I've been up to, and say, right, okay, you know, hopefully now we can get back to it, and start enjoying the content again. So the next video now will be coming out on Friday, and I'll be pruning tomatoes, because I've got a hell of a prune to do, and then once I've done that, I'll make a load of other content as well. We'll have a look at the water systems and a few other things that I wanted to do, and then hopefully we'll get back to normal with our weekly videos at least. So thanks for joining me. I will see you all in the next one.